At 6 this week, the trial for two men accused of shooting and killing a pregnant woman is set to start, but now they want a delay. Prosecutors allege the pair planned and carried out the murder of Tameisha Price, who was 9 months pregnant.
January 24th, 2024. A quiet evening in Toledo, Ohio, shattered by a call to 911. Police rushed to the 5300 block of Norton Place, where they found a horrifying scene. Tameisha Price, a 34-year-old mother of two, 8 months pregnant with her unborn daughter, Malaysia, lay lifeless in her bedroom, her body riddled with bullets. The news spread quickly. A mother and her unborn child gone. But as the shock settled, the questions began. Who would want Tameisha dead? And why? Authorities didn't have to look far for answers. Within hours, suspicion turned toward someone she trusted, someone close. Evidence would reveal a chilling plot, one that had been set in motion long before that fateful night. Was this a crime of passion? A calculated murder? Or something even more disturbing? Stay with us as we uncover the truth behind the tragic death of Tameisha Price. Before the headlines, before the investigation, before the tragedy, there was Tameisha Price, born on May 22, 1989, in Toledo, Ohio. Tameisha was the kind of person people gravitated toward. She had an infectious smile, a nurturing spirit, and an unwavering dedication to those she loved. Raised in a close-knit family, she was the daughter of Tyler and Stacy Price, who instilled in her the values of faith, perseverance, and compassion. She attended Rogers High School and later the Apostolic Christian Academy, where she was known for her kindness and determination. Education was important to Tameisha, and she pursued a career in the medical field at Herzing University. Her passion for helping others led her to work in administrative roles at Sunbridge Charter and AE Charter schools. But her most impactful role was as a lead case manager for a school-based program at New Concepts. She embraced its mission to empower and uplift young people, a reflection of the kind of person she was, always giving, always caring. But there was something that mattered to Tameisha more than anything: her family. She was a devoted mother to her two sons, Jaden Cushon, 16, and Leslie Michael, 13. Everything she did for them. Whether it was making sure they had a strong foundation in their education, spending weekends together exploring new places, or simply being there when they needed her, Tameisha's world revolved around her children. She was also deeply involved in her church. From a young age, she confessed her faith in Christ and dedicated herself to ministry. She sang in the choir, danced in praise groups, acted in church plays, and cheered alongside fellow worshipers. She was a member of Life Changes Church under the leadership of Dr. John Pace and Pastor Sherry Pace, where she built a second family, a community that supported and loved her. Outside of church and work, Tameisha had a passion for the arts. She loved modeling, traveling, and experiencing life to the fullest. She wasn't afraid to step out of her comfort zone, to dream bigger, to seek out new adventures. Her social media was filled with moments of joy, pictures with her sons, outings with friends, snapshots of a life that seemed full of promise. But beneath the surface, trouble was looming. And in the weeks leading up to her death, signs of danger began to appear. January 24th, 2024. It was a night like any other in Toledo, Ohio. The city was calm, the streets quiet. But inside a home on the 5300 block of Norton Place, something unthinkable had happened. At 8:37 p.m., a frantic 911 call came in. The voice on the other end was trembling, desperate. Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights lit up the neighborhood as officers from the Toledo Police Department arrived on the scene. Sound of a dispatcher's voice cutting through the tension. Units responding to Norton Place. Possible gunshot victim. Proceed with caution. As officers approached the residence, the door was ajar. Inside, the house was still. Too still. Then, footsteps down the hall, a door pushed open. And there she was. Tameisha Price lay motionless in her bedroom, her body riddled with multiple gunshot wounds. Blood stained the sheets, the walls. A life cut short in an instant. Paramedics rushed in, But it was too late. She was pronounced dead at the scene. But the tragedy didn't end there. Tameisha wasn't just a mother of two. She was also 8 months pregnant. Her unborn daughter, Tameisha Price, had not survived the attack. The bullet wounds had proven fatal for both mother and child. The Lucas County Coroner's Office conducted an autopsy, confirming what investigators already feared. Tameisha had suffered multiple gunshot wounds, each one precise, each one meant to end her life. The official cause of death, homicide. A separate death certificate was issued for Malaysia, the baby who never got to take her first breath. The report listed her cause of death as complications resulting from maternal gunshot wounds. A devastating confirmation that this was not just a murder, it was the loss of 2 innocent lives. The community reeled. Who could have done this? And why? As police combed through the evidence, the answers began to emerge. And they led straight to someone Tameisha had once trusted. In the hours after Tameisha Price's murder, investigators worked tirelessly to piece together the final moments of her life. There were no signs of forced entry. No valuables appeared to be missing. This wasn't a robbery. This was something personal. Detectives turned to those closest to her, starting with her family and friends. Who would want Tameisha dead? One name kept coming up, Paris James. James, 35 years old, wasn't just Tameisha's boyfriend. He was also the father of her unborn child. But their relationship had been strained in recent months. Those close to Tameisha knew she had been dealing with ongoing conflict with James, specifically over the paternity of the baby. He didn't believe Malaysia was his. And that doubt had turned into something much darker. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered troubling details. Tameisha had confided in friends that James was becoming more distant, more agitated. She had expressed fears about where things were headed. But no one could have imagined it would come to this. Then a breakthrough. Investigators secured surveillance footage from nearby locations, placing James near the crime scene on the night of the murder. But that wasn't all. Witnesses came forward, revealing chilling conversations. James had allegedly spoken about not wanting the baby, about how Tameisha was trying to trap him, about how his life would be ruined if she had the child. And then an even more damning discovery. Phone records and forensic evidence pointed to a premeditated crime. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment act. This was planned. But James wasn't alone in this. Someone else had been involved. Someone who helped carry out the plan that ended Tameisha's life. And soon, police would have a second suspect in their sights. As investigators tightened their grip on the case, they realized Paris James hadn't acted alone. The evidence pointed to another individual, someone who had not only been aware of the plan, but had actively participated in carrying it out. That man was Jerry Scott. Scott, 26 years old, had a criminal history and a past that hinted at violence. But this time, he wasn't just involved in petty crime. This time, he was directly linked to a brutal murder. Charging documents revealed that Scott had been in contact with James in the days leading up to Tameisha's death. Witnesses claimed he had discussed handling the situation. And on the night of January 24th, phone records placed Scott near Norton Place, the very street where Tameisha was gunned down. Detectives built a damning case. Scott had allegedly helped plan the attack and had been involved in its execution. But why? What was his motive? Some say he was paid. Others believe he did it out of loyalty to James. Whatever the reason, one thing was certain. Scott was just as responsible for Tameisha's murder as the man who pulled the trigger. But the web of deception didn't stop there. Investigators uncovered yet another individual who had played a role in covering up the crime. Someone who had tried to shield James from justice. Her name was Shatwia Triplett. Triplett, 34, was James' live-in girlfriend. And when authorities began questioning James about his whereabouts on the night of the murder, she stepped in with a carefully crafted lie. She claimed James had been with her the entire night, that he couldn't have been anywhere near the crime scene. It was a desperate attempt to protect him. But it didn't take long for detectives to unravel the truth. Cell phone data and surveillance footage contradicted her story. James wasn't at home. He was exactly where the evidence said he was, near Tameisha's house when she was killed. With no way out, Triplett was charged with obstructing justice. 3 suspects. 1 cold-blooded murder. And now, police had everything they needed to bring them all to court. In the aftermath of Tameisha Price's tragic death, the legal system moved swiftly to bring those responsible to justice. Paris James and Jerry Scott faced a litany of charges, each reflecting the severity of their alleged actions. Both men were indicted on multiple counts, including 5 counts of aggravated murder and 4 counts of murder, representing alternative theories in the case. Additionally, they faced charges of aggravated burglary, felonious assault, and tampering with evidence. These charges underscored the premeditated and violent nature of the crime, as well as attempts to obstruct the investigation. As the trial date approached, the prosecution prepared to present a compelling case, built on a foundation of evidence and witness testimony. However, an unexpected development threatened to alter the course of the proceedings. In January 2025, just weeks before the trial was set to commence, forensic analysts made a significant discovery. DNA evidence found on the murder weapon indicated the presence of a third individual, previously unidentified in the investigation. This revelation prompted the defense to request a postponement, arguing that the new evidence could exonerate their clients or, at the very least, introduce reasonable doubt. The presiding judge granted the postponement, acknowledging the necessity of thoroughly examining the new DNA findings. This decision underscored the complexity of the case and the importance of ensuring a fair trial. As of now, the trial has been rescheduled to allow both the prosecution and defense adequate time to investigate the implications of the new evidence. The emergence of a potential third party not only complicates the narrative, but also raises questions about the involvement of additional accomplices or alternative suspects. The community remains on edge, awaiting justice for Tameisha and her unborn daughter, Malaysia. The forthcoming trial is expected to shed light on the full extent of the conspiracy and the roles each defendant played in this heartbreaking crime. In the wake of Tameisha Price's tragic death, the Toledo community rallied together to support her grieving family, particularly her 2 sons, Jaden Cushon and Leslie Michael. Recognizing the immediate and future needs of the boys, a GoFundMe campaign was established to provide financial assistance. The campaign highlighted Tameisha's loving nature and the profound void her passing left in the lives of her children and parents, Tyler and Stacy Price. On February 3, 2024, family, friends, and community members gathered to honor Tameisha's life and legacy. The funeral services were held at the Worship Center in Toledo, Ohio, with visitation beginning at 10 a.m. and the service following at 11 a.m. The outpouring of love and support was evident as attendees shared heartfelt memories, reflecting on Tameisha's unwavering faith and her dedication to her family and community. Tameisha's beautiful and faithful life will forever be cherished by her beloved sons, Jaden and Leslie, and her parents, Tyler and Stacy Price. The community's response during this difficult time exemplified the strength and unity that Tameisha herself embodied throughout her life. Tameisha Price's story is one of love, faith, and devotion, a life dedicated to her family and community. But it is also a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic violence. Her tragic death, along with the loss of her unborn daughter, Malaysia, leaves behind an urgent question. How can we prevent tragedies like this from happening again? Domestic violence often goes unnoticed until it's too late. It affects countless families, shattering lives in an instant. If you or someone you know is in an unsafe situation, know that help is available. No one should suffer in silence. As the trial unfolds, new revelations continue to shape the case. With the discovery of DNA evidence on the murder weapon, the possibility of a third person's involvement raises even more questions. Could this change the course of justice? What are your thoughts on the evidence presented? What can communities do to protect those at risk? How can we work together to ensure that justice is served and that no other family endures the same heartbreak? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters. This is not just a story about tragedy. It's about awareness, justice, and change. Let's continue the conversation. Tameisha Price was a devoted mother, a woman of faith, and a pillar of strength for those around her. Her life was cut short in an act of senseless violence, leaving her 2 sons without their mother and a family forever changed. From the initial shock of her murder to the unfolding investigation, the involvement of multiple individuals, and the latest revelations in the trial, this case continues to raise critical questions about justice and accountability. Her story is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the lasting impact it has on families and communities. Seeking justice for Tameisha and her unborn daughter, Malaysia, is not just about punishing those responsible, but ensuring that their lives were not lost in vain. To her family, friends, and everyone who knew her, our deepest condolences go out to you. No one should ever have to endure such a loss. This case is still developing, and as new details emerge, we will continue following the pursuit of justice. If you found this story compelling, if you believe in raising awareness about these cases, take a moment to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage on stories that need to be heard. Your engagement helps bring attention to cases that might otherwise be forgotten. Justice for Tameisha Price and Malaysia Price is still being fought for. Their story deserves to be remembered.